Welcome to OSD. I'm Scott, and today we're taking a look at the San Diego Comic-Con Star Wars Black Series First Order Stormtrooper. So as of the time of recording, the mystery box is still very much in place on Star Wars The Force Awakens. We've had a teaser, we've had a trailer, we've had a behind the scenes, but we really don't know too much about characters, setting, or even plot of the next installment of the Star Wars saga. This lack of knowledge also carries over into merchandising. Star Wars The Force Awakens was largely absent from public view from Toy Fair, and likewise there was really nothing new announced at San Diego Comic-Con either. The first officially announced figure for the new movie is this guy, the First Order Stormtrooper. Now it's pretty obvious that we were going to get a new Stormtrooper figure once we saw the teaser, so it's interesting that this would be the one which is the first off the rack in terms of being released. Now this is the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive version, very much a preview figure. We have been told that this figure will probably be released in the retail line later on, but this is a wonderful little sneak peek at what we have coming. So let's take a look at the packaging here. The outer box here flips the Black Series idea kind of on its head. It's still very much the black and white design, but we've gone for the white background with black writing and art on top of it, rather than the other way around. There's this nice picture of the First Order Stormtrooper illustrating the side of it there. And of course a good Star Wars Black Series logo, which is slightly embossed. The side of the box continues the illustration from the front, but the background is flipped to black, which gives a nice stark contrast. And above it we have the name of the figure, First Order Stormtrooper, and the insignia of the First Order. The side of the box gives a little bit of a blurb about Stormtroopers, their origins as clone troopers during the Clone Wars, their evolution to Stormtroopers during the years of the Empire, and only the slightest of hints as to their involvement in the First Order, which really gives absolutely nothing away as to any of the background of the new film. The back of the box has this die-cut pattern, very reminiscent of some of the lighting fixtures that you see on the Death Star. The outer box is removable. When removed, the outer box displays the inner tray here, where you can see a return to the standard Star Wars black style of primarily black packaging with white writing on top of it, and this inner tray with the figure involved. As you can see, we have the figure itself taking up the majority, with a couple of weapons, a blaster rifle and a blaster pistol. And of course the figure's name and First Order insignia up in the corner there. The back of the box has this die cut section which allows you to remove a little booklet on the evolution of the Stormtrooper. The book contains brief descriptions of the different types of trooper. Clone troopers, Stormtroopers.
I thought this suit was designed to make sure you were dead if you got hit. Why else would we wear them?
And the Stormtroopers of the First Order. Each one has a brief page with a small bio and detailed illustrations. The armor illustrations include these wax paper overlays, which include weapons and pointing out technical details of the armor. On the First Order Stormtrooper, the overlay is a little bit less than helpful because everything is classified. Overall, the booklet is a nice added feature, but it really doesn't provide any in-depth detail or shocking revelations about the First Order Stormtroopers. This figure comes with two weapons, a pistol and a rifle, the rifle looking a lot more like the standard Stormtrooper rifles that we used to from the classic trilogy. The pistol is new, it really doesn't look terribly much like any of the previous pistols that we've seen in Star Wars, but both of them have this nice black and white finish to them, rather than solid black that we're used to seeing on Star Wars weaponry. Both weapons feature a small tab on the side. Whether this is accurate to the props in the film, we don't know, but they do serve a purpose for the toy. The right thigh of the First Order Stormtrooper has an indentation in it, into which you can clip. Either of the weapons. So that's a cool feature for storage of weapons on the figure itself, and allows them to hold one weapon while still storing the other. The right hand is sculpted with a good trigger finger pose, perfect for holding a blaster rifle or pistol. The opposing hand is also held in such a position that it can hold a weapon, but the trigger finger is slightly less prominent than on the other hand. It still is capable of holding either weapon in it though. The sculpting work on this figure is as you'd expect from Hasbro. It's clean, it's solid, there's some nice details in there, including some texturing within the visor and surrounding mouth area of the Stormtrooper, which isn't necessarily visible unless you really get up close. There's some nice texture on the body glove underneath the armour, and the lines of the armour itself are good and well defined. Paint is, as you'd expect, fairly decent. There is a lot of moulding in the right colour going on here, but there are some applications of paint on top of those, which doesn't look too bad. There's some slight bleed in some areas, but not too bad for a production figure. And let's face it, with a Stormtrooper, it's just a fairly simple black and white colour scheme anyway. There are a couple of highlights, a silver nozzle on the helmet, and a couple of silver highlights on the weapons. The area in which the Stormtrooper stands out from its predecessors is really in articulation, and unfortunately it's not necessarily a great comparison. The head is on a good ball joint. There's plenty of movement and expression possible. The chest is also on a ball joint, which really flows nicely and gives a lot of movement. However, there is no waist articulation because of this. The hips are on good ratchets and allow a reasonable amount of forward movement, but not much back due to the armour sculpt on the backside. Likewise, outward movement is possible, but is hindered by the belt. There is a swivel at the top of the thigh, and double jointed knees. The foot likewise has good side-to-side swivel articulation, but the joint is very hard to move up and down, but that may help you stand your Stormtrooper. Articulation of the shoulder is on a decent ratchet as well. It's good and sturdy and strong, and will hold most positions. However, where we lose out from previous figures is a lack of bicep articulation. These biceps do not move. There is elbow articulation, but this is actually hindered by the sculpt. You really can't get the arm up any further than that. The elbow joint does move side to side as well, but you're simply not going to get the same sort of arm movement out of this figure as you will from some of its predecessors. The hand is on a swivel and has some flexibility in and out, but again this is somewhat hindered by the sculpt of the hand and the forearm guard here. The same is true on the other hand, but really it's only a very slight backwards and forwards that you'll get out of the wrist articulation. Swivel is absolutely fine though. The changes to the articulation in the arms really hurt the posability of the figure. Unlike the classic Stormtroopers, these guys simply can't hold their rifles convincingly. They can hold them one-handed just fine, but there's no ability to be able to grab and support with the other hand. So here's a size comparison for the First Order Stormtrooper, the original Stormtrooper, and the Clone Trooper. So all pretty much in the same sort of size. You can see that there's really not any shared tooling between any of them. They are all their own distinct designs, but of course carry that black and white colour motif throughout. Summing up, this is a really nice design for a Stormtrooper, and while most of it has translated well, the omission of a couple of key pieces of articulation really hurt the figure. Similar to the Yoda figure, some changes in articulation, in this case the removal of the bicep and the awkward jointing around the wrists being hindered by the sculpt of the forearms, really has impacted on the usefulness of the articulation which the Black Series has done so well with previously. This San Diego Comic-Con exclusive version is certainly nicely packaged, but it doesn't really add a whole heap to the figure itself, and the figure should be available separately once the main toy line releases for the new movie. You can certainly expect to see a lot more of this Stormtrooper's design in the merchandising for The Force Awakens, but this particular figure really doesn't hit the stride that it should. After the home runs that we've had with some of the other armoured characters in the Black line, this one just falls short with those few pieces of key articulation which are missing. It's a good figure, but certainly don't pay a premium for it. Wait for retail, and if possible, see if you can get it on a sale then. This is Scott for OSD. May the Force be with you.